Hello and welcome, Melissa. Thank you for
Hello.
being on this interview. It's so glad to have you here.
Thank you. Very exciting.
Yes, indeed, very exciting. So we're exactly between the Money EQ Masterclass and the Money EQ Mastery. And some people still have doubts on how value and trust can be created or worked on it. So I thought, who is the master in this? And you came to my mind as you're a specialist in branding. And basically that's what you do in the branding industry, to give value and purpose to companies so people see the value and purpose and feel trust more into the brands and see a higher value. So you'll go to explain this in a little while, but maybe just introduce yourself as a start.
Thank you very much. Very excited to be here. So yeah, I've been in branding for 12 years, a little bit more. Started working with a big leading agency from Spain with big brands such as Danone, Nestle, L'Oreal, Nike, among others, and became a partner and responsible for international expansion. And for the last 12 years, branding hasn't evolved as fast as consumers. So that's why a couple of years ago, I created the in and out method that puts purpose at the center of growth for brands, organizations, and people. And the idea is basically to try to convince these companies and brands to create purposeful messages and brands and explain them that this is what will help them grow in the short and long term. So we are a network of 12 people around the world working together at Brandbook with clients that are located also internationally. And that's a little bit what we do and about me. So thanks for having me here, and definitely value and trust are critical issues to discuss today.
Yes, thank you so much. So the funny thing is that when we met, I was still known as the funnel lady, doing sales funnels for marketing, and we had a very nice conversation. So me and my business partner had a talk about funnels, and then it was our position that it's first about give and receive. So first, if you're a small business and entrepreneur, you will want to first know how to produce value and sell it, so have this exchange. And so in terms of our money EQ pillars, so it's the give and receive. And then Melissa came in and said, no, first you have to build trust. People won't buy from you if you don't build trust, and if they really appreciate you as a brand. So that was very interesting. I, until this day, think there is something to both of the approaches. But this kind of conversation got our friendship started. So
Correct.
I really appreciate it. So can you tell us a bit about how trust is created and why people trust?
Yeah, so I would start by just a little bit before that, why trust is today more important than before. The data shows that more than 50% of people today don't trust businesses and brand anymore. In some countries, it gets to 70% of the people, which is crazy, no? So we are in a trust crisis that came from the fact that some companies, not all, misbehaved or did fake communications or said or claimed things that were not true, which led the consumer to be more smart and a little bit more into the detail and asking and requiring more from the business side. No? So before, brands or businesses could claim a little bit what they wanted and consumer would buy them. And today you need to convince the consumer or your audience that what you're saying, it's important, but moreover that it's true. No? So that became really, really important in a crowded market where authenticity, which is totally linked to trust, is critical. So how do we build trust? And I just said the word, it's through authenticity. It's really hard to, let's say, build a trust if you are trying to do something that you're not. It's almost impossible. It's a ball that starts small, and it's more or less you can control your messaging when you're small, but you become a big corporation to to try to have these messages on the outside, but in the inside be something else, it's something that today it's almost impossible to control. So if you live by your values and you're authentic, it means what you communicate, it's actually the truth. You don't have to lie about it. Then it's actually the way people will trust you, because they see that you also make mistakes, that you're not perfect, that what you see is what's really happening. And this really recently happened with a client. I don't know if you want me to give an example, Nadine?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it's a recycling, it's a new concept of wine, which is in a can, not in a bottle. And this can is fully recycling. It means we worked on labels that are all recycled materials. The glue that is used can be recycled. And what happened because of this choice, so the label is plastic free, it's all paper. When you put the can on the ice, the paper is breaking, right? Because there is no plastic. So the brand was totally like really stressed about that, no? And they were scared of a miscommunication about, oh, what consumers will think. But what did we say? We said, well, this is really who we are, and we chose sustainability over your label being paper or nice, so let's communicate it. So we just created a thread of pictures of the label breaking and saying that for us, this was beautiful, no? And this was the new meaning of what brands need to make. So this is a way to, you're building trust because you're not trying to hide that your label is breaking. You're just saying it and explaining why this is happening. So this is what people expect today.
So that's perfect. So for many entrepreneurs also to always hear imperfect action is perfect. And it's just about you being you and having your voice. So that's very beautiful. So is there a difference for companies and corporation and private people when you speak about trust?
Not anymore. I would say it used to be. But actually, we see today that people and businesses are very linked together, and people want to know what people are behind that business. So at the end, it's a lot about people. Like, for example, in beauty, founders became a critical part of the brand. And as you saw, all these bloggers, for example, launching beauty brands, it's all about them. It's not even about the brand, and the brand is them, and they are the brand. So it's very connected today. Like, company branding became very personal, and personal branding became like also very important. So I would say it's very linked. But the way they connect is that your personal purpose doesn't need to be necessarily your company purpose. They can be different. Your company purpose should help you into your personal goal. Doesn't necessarily be everything, right? It's part of it. But of course, there is a consistency. No, if my personal goal is, I don't know, to create a better planet for everyone, and I create a business that is not sustainable, then people is gonna not trust you because something is inconsistent. So this same consistency that we talked before needs to be between the personal and the company brand. And I would say the personal brand can be a little bit more crazy than the company brand, or a little bit even more bold, but at the end they need to live a lot in harmony, especially for entrepreneurs today. And when we work for entrepreneurs, normally they ask us to develop personal brand together with company brand because it's too linked together today.
Yes. So what is the connection between purpose and trust, or the alignment to purpose and trust?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so also the data shows that today consumers expect to buy brands that stand for things, political, social. They don't really care anymore about the features of the product, but more what does it mean for me to buy this or eat this? No, what is the message I'm sending to the world about myself? So this is really important to consumers today. So what happens is that I have a personal purpose value. To the opinion, people are very opinionated, and then I'm going to choose the brands with whom I share that purpose. And normally what happens is that I'm an expert as a consumer in my own personal purpose. So I'm judging the brand, okay, so you are telling me that you're going to help me reduce the plastic in the ocean, but how? And I'm going to go to YouTube and I'm going to check, and I'm going to absolutely everything. if you are helping me reinforce my own purpose and I'm helping you, making you more authentic, this is a trust relation we are building that is very hard to break, you know? Consumers expect brands also to educate them. And this is a new phenomenon, no? So not only you're telling me you're gonna reduce the plastic in the ocean, but tell me how can I help on my own free time, no? So this connection, strong connection through purpose, if the company is capable of creating it beyond the product, this is a relation that is very hard to break for a brand and a consumer. I don't know if I answered correctly the question.
Yes, so that's very good. And leads me also to the next question. So when we have a goal in mind, and the purpose is the direction or is the expression of this goal, so how would that, like, how does it help companies to communicate on this, yeah, as you said, like on this value? How does it help companies to communicate about the values and the purpose rather than the product? So isn't the product interesting anymore, and the feature and what it does, and if it really breaks, etc.?
It is. No, I would say it is. I mean, I'm taking it to the extreme for the sake of the conversation. The way it works, I would say, is depends also on the level of the cycle of matureness of the business. I would say, of course, when you start, which is the case, I think, of most of the people that are watching this interview, which is our entrepreneurship. In the entrepreneurship, there is a big mistake, which is to focus in product 100% and really try to make our product better than the rest. This obsession with product is very good, but then we forget totally about our audience. It's like we are just building the perfect product, but we don't really know what the consumer is asking us, you know? And sometimes when doing that, we realize, oh, actually, the product can have some imperfections if the value I'm bringing or the purpose I'm bringing is connected to my audience. So at the beginning, this connection I talked about, it's really important. But once this connection is built and consumers recognize their purpose with our own purpose, of course, the moment of truth comes when I try your product. But the experience of the product, I'm not talking about quality only. I'm talking about the whole product experience or service experience. It needs to be aligned with everything you told me before, right? So the label from the wine breaking is aligned with the purpose you just told me. And I don't mind that the label is breaking because this experience is aligned with the promise you gave me. So just make sure that your product or service experience is aligned with that promise and purpose, rather than trying to do a perfect product that you don't know if it's going to fit your promise at the end.
Yes. So, and also if the product is the product and you add the value on purpose, so in the end of the day, the company is more money. Is that right?
Correct. I mean, this is what we call the perpetual purpose circle. So we say companies define a very strong purpose that is based in authenticity and relevancy. And then once this purpose is defined, the company launches with everything accordingly and invests some of this money in purpose-driven actions that are not linked directly to the product. These actions will nurture even more the purpose, which will bring a broader audience. And again, and this in the end brings more profits. And this profit can be reinvested both in improving the experience and improving the purpose. So definitely there are proof and many data that shows that purpose-driven brands and companies are today more profitable. And they are saying that it's the superpower of the future of companies today. So profit and purpose are definitely very linked. And at the end of the day, we know that a company is trying to maximize profits, and this is also part of it.
Yes, and it would also work for people. So the more you can trust either an employee or a business owner, or however you earn your money, is really the more people trust you, the more you become indispensable for them or the person they trust and want to go to, even if the price is higher. So that is how beautiful it connects, that by establishing trust, you raise your money EQ. Now, Melissa, the other way around, what is the role of purpose in decision making?
Well, I mean, I would say that, again, as I said before, decision making today is much more complicated than before because the market is crowded and the digital made it even more crowded. So to compete in certain industries became really, really difficult. And purpose can be that differentiator from the rest in certain industries. Like, for example, some of our B2B clients were really surprised. Okay, how can you talk about purpose in B2B? And we had to prove, and they realized that purpose was actually a strong differentiator in B2B, no? Because some of the suppliers were not used to that type of communication from a B2B company, no? So first, it can act as differentiator. Not all your competitors are going to necessarily put purpose at the center of the message beyond the product. So if the consumer relates to that, automatically it's going to switch to you rather than the rest. And I would say at the end of the day, it's what I said, like, if buying that product is going to say something about me that I'm proud, or using that service that I'm proud, I don't really look at the price if I can afford it, because there is an emotional value that is really big. And this is almost priceless. No? It's very hard to price my pride of wearing a t-shirt with a certain brand like Patagonia, no? Which is the master of this. Like, wearing today a Patagonia t-shirt means I don't vote Trump, I respect the environment. It means a lot of things. So the t-shirt itself, it doesn't really matter what it costs, but there is an emotional value to it that can have any price.
Yes, that's a very beautiful connection to really make the connection of the pillars of appreciation and appreciating the value with the purpose and the trust. So you were at the beginning telling us about inside out and outside in. So what you were also saying is about listening to the audience, listening to your clients. So that would be outside in, but you develop it inside out, which is also a concept we talk about, that you feel what feels right for you and you put it out. So how does this go together for you?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we are constantly, I like to say, and I think this is, I already told you, Nadine, once, like, there is this idea of a window glass where consumers can see everything you're doing, right? So when you are working in a company or in your office, you need to imagine that the consumer is right there in the balcony looking at you, no? Because they actually are. This is what's happening today. So this means we cannot just look at inside and look at outside, but they need to reflect each other. It's the same thing now. That's why also now branding and consultancy, which used to be very separated, no? You would have a communication agency telling A to consumers and B what's happening inside. Not the case anymore. Now it's A everywhere. So this leads to this concept of in and out, which is, okay, let's go inside first. Why? Because instead of looking at the outside and adapt the outside to me, this is very hard. To impose an external purpose to an organization that exists is not real. It's going to be very hard for you to be authentic on a purpose that was not born from you. And this is what you said, no? So I always look at myself, because the most important is that I can stand behind my promise. So for that, it needs to be something that I do naturally. I cannot force it to myself. So first I look at me, and then I go and look out and say, okay, is there anything that I found inside my organization or myself that can be relevant to that people? And if the answer is no, you don't change yourself. You go to another audience where your purpose is relevant, not your product. So, which means sometimes it can happen, and it happened to us in certain projects. We had a very strong purpose internally. We went out and we said, oh, actually this purpose and this promise is relevant to these other consumers and not to the ones we thought. So we changed totally the time. So we go inside and we are outside, and then we go in and out and say, okay, so we're going to change our strategy to make sure that what connects us is this purpose. But what's important is that you can't change who you are. And this is when, if you try to do that, it's going to be very hard to build this trust and authenticity, because there will be points where you could see in this window glass, oh, this is not really what you're saying, you know? And this is a little bit every time what we do.
That's very beautiful. So what can you recommend people that want to increase their trust now, or their money EQ on trust? What would you recommend them to do, what can they do right now? I have my daughter taking out things. So
authenticity. Nadine is a mother, aside from all the things she does, so that's perfect.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. So she's taking out her things. Really silent, but that's what it is.
It's fine. A window glass, you see? We see outside the reality of the inside.
Absolutely.
Reality of brands.
Absolutely. So, okay, so what is the one thing that you could recommend people doing right now as very easy in order to increase their trust towards others? And also, what can they do so others trust them more?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say make it personal. Number one, people are tired of like corporate stories or messages, you know, they want personal stories. They want to know who you are and why do you do that and where do you come from, no? And in business now, I can tell you, even for very big organizations, everything is personal. So you need to make them like you as a person. Who are you? Sometimes we jump into a presentation and we just start talking about our business and we didn't introduce ourselves, you know, and this I see it constantly and I say, but who are you? And their personal story is just fascinating. And this is what people want to listen. Who are you? Your personal story. Why? How did you get here? You know, and what were the challenges you overcame, and why did you created that business? And I'm a mom, and this is my reality. No, so I would say now number one from far is make it personal. Number two, keep it authentic. I know I already said it, but remember this window glass in everything you do. When you are not exposed to social media, even when you are taking internal decisions, and this is something we do at Brown Book constantly, you know, when we take decisions that are internal, we think, okay, is this logical? If clients would see what we are doing, what would they think? They would be proud or they would be ashamed, no, for this project we took. And sometimes this leads us to take business decisions, no? And this, we shouldn't do it. This is not aligned with who we are. Let's say no, you know? So this requires like being very, very confident about who you are and what you believe in. So if you don't have yet this confidence, first work on this confidence, because this confidence is going to be really tough when you're successful and you're going to get big clients to come and offer you things that you think are amazing, but then they're not aligned with who you are. You will have to say no. So, you know, do it personal, authentic, based on this confidence that you have. And the third one, I just said it, it's say no. Say no. I mean, it's really hard. I think we already talked about it in the past, but you know, it's the only way to say no is when you are really sure of who you are, what your purpose, and then everything that is disturbing you from that vision, just take it out of your agenda.
Yes, on the one hand, and on the other is also sometimes to say yes, because often when we don't have the trust and the confidence, so we say no just to keep ourselves safe. And then it's about having the confidence to, yes, I can do it. Yes, this is what I want.
Completely. Yeah, yes. Yeah. I mean, I 100% agree. What I meant is more like say no to the things that are not aligned with yourself. But of course, to the things that are aligned with yourself, say yes to everything. And as I said, confidence is number one. I mean, you cannot build trust if you don't believe in yourself. It's like, this is the first thing when we go Brown Book goals to sell purpose-driven brands. We believe so much on it that we contaminate our environment, no? And at the end is this confidence we have that the clients say, well, if they are so sure, let's do it. So first, it's believe in yourself, of course.
Yes, so that's wonderful. Thank you so much for your insights. I'm sure everyone learned a lot. And so that's how it all comes together. There is no single pillar that only on this you can build your money EQ, but it's really on the interaction of all of those four. And you gave us great insights now about how to create trust and also how the appreciation and value story that goes into this, your story of trust when you give and receive. So thank you very much, Melissa, and I hope you all to see in the Money EQ Mastery where we go deep on this topic. So the links are above or below, and you can join in. It will be great fun, and we will do applied exercises to not only understand this on a conscious level, but also to implement it on a subconscious level that will translate into your actions and results. So have a wonderful day, and thank you very much.
Thank you.